Welcome to Spiritual Warrior TV and Podcasts, your go-to channel for everything related to spirituality, metaphysics, personal development, and well-being. I'm your host, Renzo Ruiz Haas, and I'm on a journey myself, as a truth seeker and as an explorer, to discover and to share with you all the best tips, tools, and different approaches that contribute to nourish our souls, embrace our humanity, and help us incarnate the greatest and brightest expression of ourselves. Because when we become better versions of ourselves, we make this world a better place. Yeah. And today's guest, she's a singer, songwriter, creative artist, life lover, an angel of joy and living magic. Without any further ado, I want to give a big warm welcome to the one and only Aveyah Nelson.
Thank you so much, Renzo. That was adorable. Thank you so much.
You're so lovely. I'm so happy to have you here on the show.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. I was like super honored when you reached out and you were like, hey, do you want to be on my podcast? I was like, oh my God, of course. I love doing podcasts. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
So can you explain to our audience here, what was the thing that made you jump into your musical journey? Was that something that was always with you, or you kind of discovered that later on? How did all of that unfold for you?
Oh my gosh, that's quite the story actually.
Please, want to know more.
But it's quite the magical one. I would say that it's so ironic because by far the intuition that I received about leaving my career behind and going for music was like by far the one that I least expected in my entire life. Like that was never a thing for me.
So what were you doing before? What was it, that career you were in?
So I actually, I went to university to become a teacher. So I was a French teacher for a really long time. I'm half French, half Filipina. And so I grew up speaking French and like French culture and everything. And so, yeah, and that was actually my life. I actually thought that was going to be it. And it was such an interesting sequence of events, even though I did grow up in a musical family. My mother has a beautiful voice. We had a piano. We all took like singing lessons and piano lessons. It was just kind of like this thing that was like a hobby for me. And it was interesting. There was a certain turn of events for me when I actually started to connect to my music. And ironically enough, it was when I had I was a teenager and I was just like so over like taking music lessons and piano lessons, and it felt so rigid. It felt like a chore basically that I was forced to do. And so I quit. And I didn't touch anything for like 2 years, and it felt so good to take a breather. And within those 2 years, I actually forgot everything. Like I forgot how to read sheet music. I forgot everything, but my fingers never forgot how to play the piano. And
that's what happens when you feel music, eh?
Yes. And see, that's where the magic actually happened. Is 2 years later, I was like in my teens. And for whatever reason, I was just kind of looking at the piano that I hadn't touched in forever, that I was like, whatever, I don't even care about the piano. And I decided to play. And it was so that I will remember that moment where I didn't even know if I could still play, to be really honest at that point. Mm-hmm. I just put my fingers on the keyboard, on the piano, and I just started playing. And it was like the music was just flowing out of me. And it was literally, that was the first experience I got of like feeling melody flow through me as opposed to learning a skill with my mind. And so I would say that was probably like the first taste that I got. and that was it. Honestly, like from then on, music kind of became my little secret. It was interesting. Like I didn't, even my closest friends didn't know that I played the piano. They certainly didn't know that I sang. I shared it with no one, Renzo. Like no one.
But like, how was the transition from you from going for like working full time your job and then stepping into music? I guess it must have been like a hard step to do, right? Kind of
It
like
definitely,
owning it full time,
yeah.
working in music.
Oh my God, that was terrifying. It went from being this like little hobby that I did, and I had moved to I'm from Montreal, Canada, and I had moved to California.
Word, Montreal.
Yes.
I'm from there too.
Awesome, yay. I
Yeah.
love Montreal. Um, and I was actually working this teaching job in San Diego that, oh my God, I absolutely loved, and there wasn't a shred of doubt in my mind I was going to retire there. Like my students are just like the sweetest students I ever encountered, and I loved the school. It was just amazing. And it was like this very interesting sequence of events where life was like, Aveyah, like we have something else planned for you. And
Right.
so little
Your
did I
soul,
know,
your higher self pulling you somewhere else, right?
man, did it ever. And it was crazy because I never saw this coming. When I really tell you that this was not like anywhere on my radar ever in my life, it really wasn't. And so it was the start of a new school year, and I had specifically asked my school not to give me an extra class. And they did. They just had to, basically. And within the first few weeks of that school year, it just became so consuming. I was like working 50, 60 hours a week. And instead of spending most of my time with the kids and like learning and doing all these fun activities and teaching them this beautiful language, I was spending most of my time like emails, preps, meetings, like, and I was miserable. And
Right.
it was
Teacher's
breaking
job
my,
is like, I don't know, never been a teacher, but from what I've heard, it's very demanding and
it
a lot.
definitely is. It's something that I feel like every educator that I've met in my teaching career really did it from the heart. It certainly wasn't for the pay.
No, for sure, because you end up working all these so many extra hours. Like, it's
You
unbelievable.
do, and you build these relationships. That's the thing, and it really pulls at your heartstrings. You build these relationships with these beautiful kids, and then you just want to go above and beyond. It just doesn't, yeah.
And it's
And
impressive how old, like, I don't know what was your age range that you were teaching there? Was it
oh, that's a great question. So I actually started off teaching the older high school kids.
okay?
So like seniors, that range. That's when I started my teaching career in Montreal, and
Mhm.
then I went on to teach college. And because I don't know, I always thought like I was better with the older kids, and then I hated it. And by the time I moved to California, I randomly got this position, and it was offered. They were looking for a French teacher, and but it was for little kid. It was for like middle school, which for us is like sixth grade, which would be considered elementary here.
Mhm.
Sixth grade, sixth, seven, and eighth grade, basically. And I wasn't sure, and I was like, I don't know, these kids are really young, and it ended up being, oh my God, the best thing I ever did. I
Was
loved
that?
that.
Would you say that was that your favorite type of group range that
A
you like?
1,000,000%, a 1,000,000%. It was so interesting because I always thought of myself like, no, I like to have like deep intellectual, like, critical thinking conversations. But I didn't know, and when I literally ended up with this group of kids, I had so much fun. Like we would go outside, we would play, instead of playing Simon Says, we would play Madame Nelson Says, and like I would teach them vocab. It was so much fun with them. And so that was my favorite age group.
Awesome.
The
And
one I actually had.
it's impressive all you can learn from kids, right? Because they're so connected to like source and like
Yes.
their innocence. They bring like a different perspective as us, like as adults, we've been like conditioned and all this stuff, and they're just like they have a fresh new perspective things, which I
Hmm.
find amazing. And by teaching, you actually learn as well. Right.
Definitely. That was probably one of the things I loved most about them was just was their love, their innocence, and just how I could feel their energy when they came into my room. And no matter how tired I was or how little I slept, it's just like the radiance of them being like, hi, like, Madam Nelson, are we doing this today or whatever? It just lit me up. I learned so much from them. And I feel like as a teacher, one of the things I loved the most was teaching beyond my subject, and really just teaching things like listening to ourselves, or growth, or just life lessons, love, like emotional intelligence, or those
Right.
things. Those
Something
were
that we're missing a lot right now in the school system, right?
yeah,
All these
definitely.
things that we often don't want to, our society doesn't want to acknowledge, but they're really present.
Yeah, and when I was a teacher, I actually had that like privilege and opportunity to share a lot of that with my students, and I think that's why
Wow.
I became definitely one of the favorite teachers. And yeah, so going back to just the journey to music that
Yeah.
year was particularly challenging, and it was interesting because within the first few weeks of that year, I literally couldn't, just my heart was just, it was just breaking, and the only thing that was keeping me sane, if you want, was music. So I would kind of like work 60 hours a week, and at night when I would come home, I would be playing the piano and I would be writing. I'd cry, and it was just really hard for me. I think what was most heartbreaking during that process was just the feeling that I had so little energy to give to my students, which is what meant most to me at the time. And so that's what was heartbreaking. And it was, so my music, in a sense, kind of fueled, a way for me to express that in the evenings. And it was nuts, Renzo. Like, I went from like having a first, few weeks of challenging like weeks of
Right.
teaching to like, holy fuck, I think I'm like, something's happening here with music. And
Oh.
I started writing music, writing songs. And within, within like the first 2 months of that school year, I had this feeling. I was like, holy fuck, I think I'm going to leave to do this. And it was kind of crazy because I was like, you understand, like, I had never played for anyone. No one had ever heard me play a single note in my life, let alone sing, like maybe karaoke and stuff. I am half Filipina, so we do love karaoke in my family. But aside from that, so it was terrifying. And I want to say within the three first months of that school year, I went from, playing at night to, relieve some of this heartache, to going to my first open mic and performing, which was terrifying, and deciding that I was going to leave for music. It's like I got the message, I got the download, and I couldn't, it was crystal clear. And I was just like, in my head, I was like, what do you mean I'm leaving for music? I've never done this in front of everyone. This is complete madness. And so I told my beloved school that I absolutely loved working there, and I told my students, and it ended up being such a blessing. I left that year. It happened so quickly, and it was such a beautiful gift in so many ways. I had students coming up to me at the end of the year, and they were like, Madam Nelson, like, I know that I'm going to follow my dreams because I saw you do it,
Wow.
and it was,
So
yeah,
inspiring. So
it was
inspiring. I
so
love
inspiring.
it.
It was so heartbreaking because I was just like, they were my family. So that was kind of the transition. And from then on, it was just, everything was new. Everything was an edge. Every step forward was terrifying, to share
Of
myself
course,
in that
because
way.
you're like you're trying something new there. You're getting out of your comfort zone. It's never the feeling that is the most comfortable, yet that feeling is the one that makes you grow the most, right? It's like that for every new thing that we try. There's always that feeling of fear, like doubt and all this stuff, but that's just like
Definitely.
our excitement too, that's kind of mixed into that.
Definitely. And I feel like what was interesting too is like nothing had really prepared me for this. It's not like I grew up feeling like, yeah, I want to perform, I want to be on stage, and it's like I had that sense of preparing myself for this to happen. It was just I went from, you know, never playing for anyone, no one even knowing that I do music, to suddenly, hey, I'm leaving to pursue this. So everything was just so scary, so intimidating. There was no like, you know, learning curve of growing up doing it. It was, yeah, it was just like, all right, like off you go. And so it was
Yeah.
nuts. Like, so overnight, I literally left my career. And it was a career I loved. It's like we hear that story, you know, people are like, well, I left a job that I hated to pursue my dreams. I left like a dream job that I absolutely loved to pursue something so freaking crazy that
Wow.
I never.
And you know what? That to me takes even more courage, because
It does.
you're actually like, if you're in a shitty job and you're like not happy there, I wouldn't feel bad. I'd be like, okay, well, fuck it. I'm gonna go and follow my dreams. Like, but if you're in a job that you actually enjoy and love, but you know inside of you, like your intuition is calling you somewhere else, that actually takes a lot more courage. Because you know you
Oh
can
my
hit a
God,
wall,
does it
you can
ever?
like mess up, hit a wall, and you don't know. Basically, you're just like jumping into the abyss, and but when you take that jump, and then in the end, it's the most like rewarding thing you can do, right?
Definitely, definitely. And I felt like already the jump that I made when I had decided to move to California, like on a whim, that
Yeah,
was
how did that
probably.
happen? How did you like? Did someone call? Did you know someone in California, or was it just
Oh,
like fuck it, I want to go there, I just want to live
that
there?
was also like a very crazy. It's interesting because I've always been someone who's such a straight shooter. Like, you know, went to the best university in the country, like got a master's, like did all these things, and so I was never really much of a risk taker. And suddenly, like a series of things had happened in my life. One of which was my dog passing away,
Oh,
who I had when I was 10, and at the time I was 25, and so he pretty much had like saw me from a child to, you
yeah,
know,
no,
a career
definitely
woman.
those animals become part of the family. They're really one
Totally.
more family
And
member for sure.
oh my gosh, of
I know
course. And
that
he
feeling because I remember when I had to come to Canada, I was 11.
mm,
I also had to leave my dog, which was like I knew I was never gonna see him again, and
oh my
so it's
god.
basically like your dog dying, pretty much, right?
Yes. No,
And it
absolutely.
was
They are.
hard. It was definitely hard for me. I was in
Oh,
tears. I was.
oh, for sure. It's they are such like powerful teachers in our life. And for me, he was definitely like he taught me what love was, and it was just he and I. We were just in our apartment, you know,
Animals are
living
the best
solo.
example of unconditional love to me. I think
Mhm.
they're just angels that have been put here to teach us what unconditional love is.
I
Really.
totally agree. I totally agree. Yeah, and so when he had passed, I had already, even in his last few years, I had had this feeling where I'm like, I want to get out of Montreal. Like, I just want to leave, but I couldn't bring him with me. And so, because it just would have been so complicated. He was so big, he had arthritis. Like, I was not putting him on a plane. Hell no. And even driving would have been a total issue because it was just so big and like all cramped up. So I just didn't. I didn't go anywhere. I just stayed. And when he passed away, I literally, there was this moment where I felt him come to me after his passing. And he literally just, his spirit spoke to me and he was like, go, just go. Like, spread your wings. You have no reason to
Wow.
let holding you back anymore. Just go. And when I felt that, I was like, holy cow, okay, like this was the purpose, this is the moment. And
Yeah.
so I, in that moment, it was just a few months after he had passed, I decided I was going to move to this city, to San Diego, which I had never been to in my life. I didn't know a single soul in San Diego, and I had heard great things about it back in my bartending days. I had a few clients who had told me amazing things about San Diego, but I'd never been. And so I told my family, I was like, listen, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, but I'm moving to California. I'm moving to the city. And so within the next 6 months, I left my teaching job. I was teaching college at the time. I freaking hated it. It was awful. It was a terrible job. I hated it. And I was in a pretty toxic relationship. It was like one of those where you just keep weaving in and out at the time. And then my dog had passed, and I was like, you know what? Montreal offered me the best that it has, like, to offer. It's time for me to go. And so I literally packed up my things, sold everything in my house, gave my stuff away, and I had 6 pieces of luggage. And I landed in San Diego, booked a one-way ticket. It was terrifying, Renzo. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking.
No, of course, of course.
For someone who's like such like a planner and such like a straight shooter, this was
that's the worst for a planner. Like I'm not saying I am a planner, so like and it is pretty bad for me as well, but I can't even imagine a planner.
It was definitely out of character for me. And but it was really, like, at the time I didn't realize it because I wasn't like awakened and so conscious, but it was really my soul like pulling me in this direction. And so so I booked a one-way ticket. The only thing that I had was my 6 pieces of luggage and a motel room, and that was it. I didn't have a car, I didn't have a job, I didn't have a home plan. That's it. I didn't know anyone there. And it was so beautiful because life truly provides when you just trust. And for me, that was
so true.
The biggest expression of trust for me, because I really had no idea why I was going there, what I was going there for, like nothing. And literally within the first 4 weeks of me being there, I got a car. I got the most beautiful place I had ever, it was just beautiful, like condo and or condo like style apartment. And 2 days before school started, I happened to see an ad of this prestigious private school that was looking for a French teacher 2 days before school starts. That does not happen in the teaching world, just so you know. And I ended up doing a series of interviews, and I ended up getting it. And it was, I mean, literally overnight, my salary doubled. I had the most amazing benefits, the sweetest students I had ever gotten in my life. I was suddenly in love with my teaching career again. And I was being paid to like fly to Paris every year and do immersion programs with them.
Amazing.
It was a dream life. That I was just gifted with, and it was amazing. Although I was alone there, I didn't have any friends, and that was a whole like process in and of itself. I mean, to just think that taking that leap of faith by myself at that time was absolutely hands down the best thing I ever did. And to me, like, California is home now, and I live in LA now, but
that's amazing. I love California. I did a road trip of all the west California, like a solo road trip.
Yes. Oh wow, solo.
Yeah. And it was a beautiful, beautiful experience. It's one of my favorite places, really. California.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I do. Yeah, I love
I went like all the way up from San Francisco down to LA, well, Hollywood, Malibu, all that.
Amazing.
And then Arizona.
Oh, cool.
Arizona, there was this beautiful place called Havasu Falls. If you've never been to Arizona, go check out that place. Havasu Falls.
What is it called again?
Havasu Falls.
Havasu Falls.
It's like this series of like, it was 5 or 6 waterfalls. This place, and it was like, I remember I walked like 40 kilometers that day in the desert.
Okay.
Yeah, it was quite the hike, but beautiful, totally worth it.
Oh wow!
I wish I would have stayed longer though. I want to go back for sure. Definitely, the energies there were something like, wow, out of this world. It was a paradise.
Definitely. I totally agree. Well, you'll have to let me know when you're in town so we can definitely.
No, for sure. I definitely want to go back though to Cali. That's
amazing.
Maybe to live there. Who knows, right?
Yeah, I honestly, I love living there. I'm open to living like anywhere. I don't think people often, they always ask me like, so do you think you would move back to Montreal? And I'm always like, no, I'm not moving back to Montreal. But
I love Montreal in summertime. Honestly, I
Yeah.
think it's a beautiful place in summertime. The
Yes.
only thing, like, I'm the worst when it comes to cold weather. I
Oh,
can't, like,
same. It's just
I'm the biggest wimp when it comes to cold weather.
same. I just can't stand it. It's too much,
Yeah.
and yeah, and also just experiencing like the collective vibration of different cities, and namely in LA. It's amazing, like the level, the collective consciousness is so much higher, and there's like such a like high vibrational tribe
Mm.
in that city, and which is interesting because it also contrasts to what a lot of people think is like fake and like, you know, plastic surgery and all these things, and of course all of that exists, but there's a beautiful spectrum, and I've definitely found what I feel like is my soul family out there, and I'm also open to like living in other places. I've been to so many like places around the world that I would totally be like, oh, I could totally live here for a while. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm looking like I'm thinking of Hawaii right now, New Zealand, Australia, so many
Costa
places I
Rica.
want to go to right now. Yeah. And you were mentioning the healing effects of sound. Now we know, like, through, I don't know if you heard of cymatics before, where it's like
Hmm.
the sound that takes different vibration, like geometric uh patterns on water or sand and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So we now know that, you know, sound emits vibrations that have a, you know, harmonizing effect on our energy field and stuff. So did you feel that for you, like a sound had a healing effect on you, or of any sorts?
Mhm. That's a great question. Yes, absolutely. Yes, it's what was so healing for me in that moment. For me, that was very challenging, and then it went from healing to being a just such a profound form of expression, and just a way to really feel myself. On a like deeper level, because when you're writing music and playing music, it's almost like when you can just step into this like channel where you kind of remove yourself from the whole operation. It's almost like it's flowing through you, and in that flow there is so much like healing and liberation and love and expression and just so much more of yourself, and it just feels like you're fueling yourself, and then that is being literally transmuted to others through the sound that you're bringing, whether it's
Mm.
vocally or on piano or ukulele or whatever. So yes, I definitely feel like it has like incredible. You know what's interesting too is I always thought to myself, there's one thing that everyone has in common, and everyone, whatever type of music you like, everyone likes music. Like I've
For
never come
sure.
across
Like in every
any,
culture, if you look at the shamanic cultures
yeah,
everywhere, they
everywhere.
use like drums, flutes.
From
They have some type of music. I agree,
chant,
100%. Yeah.
yeah, it's the one thing that I feel is like really unite. I mean, there's a lot of things that unite us, but that is one
Right.
thing that, like, I mean, I've definitely met people who are like, oh no, I'm not into movies or I'm not into reading, but music, I have never met a single person, never. Like,
Right.
doesn't matter what kind of music you like, but and I just find that fascinating. I find it fascinating how we can be feeling something in the moment, and like you say, there's like a medicine in the sound waves, in like woven into like how the person wrote the lyrics, the melody, that suddenly it's like bursting your heart open, and maybe it's allowing you to cry in that moment because you just need to like feel the pain or feel sadness, and that's fine.
Mm.
Or maybe it's like making you feel alive. Whatever it is, it the beauty is how it makes us feel, and that it's there's just something so powerful about that I obviously really resonate with as as a musical artist now. But yeah, it's definitely a beautiful point about sound.
Amazing. Amazing. Um, one thing. Now we've been talking about your music career and stuff, but you obviously have gained some like level of consciousness at one point in your life, right? Where
Yeah.
you became more aware of your spirituality and basically your energy, your intuition. What was How did you get to into that state? How did you discover like spirituality and consciousness in your life?
Hmm, that's a great
What was the
question.
thing like that made you think, oh, okay, we're
I'm
more
more
than
than
just
just this
physical? Yeah.
vessel. Yes. Man, that was an interesting one. So when I did move to Cali, I didn't know at the time that I was essentially like super heartbroken and jaded, and in my mind I had like given all this love to all my exes, and one in particular I would say, and basically my conclusion was that no matter how much love that you give to someone, it doesn't mean that you're gonna get it back. It doesn't mean that you're gonna be wanted back. And so with that, this was all unconscious, but
Mm-hmm.
basically my conclusion was that love is not enough and I should just go to the next best thing. And at that moment I was like, well, I feel like just financial security feels like the next best thing. And so at that time when I was transitioning and living, I had just started living in Cali, I was actually, believe it or not, I was an aspiring trophy wife. And so my heart was just broken, and I just felt like, well, if I can't get love, I might as well just be comfortable in life and enjoy the nice things. And little did I know, just a few months later, an old friend of mine, who you know, David Lyon,
Yeah.
hit me up, emailed me randomly. He didn't know that I was living in California, and was like, "Hey, do you want to link up?" And at the time, I was like, pretty like it was challenging to be living in California because I didn't have any friends yet, and so I was longing for connection. So I told him, well, you know what, I'm actually coming back to Montreal in a month for the holidays. Let's link up, you know. And when we did, that began like this whole, that was my awakening. So meeting him again, and also meeting him completely different. We've been friends for over a decade, and seeing how different he had changed because he was also just like spiritually awakened and everything. And so basically my whole awakening process happened through my reconnection with David Lyon, and we became just best friends.
I can see
And
how that happened.
yes, I know
Yeah,
you've experienced him, and he's
yeah,
so incredibly magical, and he's been
for sure.
by far like the greatest inspiration in my life. And so yeah, it was really just like planting those seeds and just watering them inside of me. And of course it's been years of this journey of, you know, seeing more of myself, learning to love parts of myself that I didn't even know that were in the dark. And it's
Right,
brought
because
me
it's like a never-ending process, right?
oh,
I
absolutely.
like to compare my spiritual journey as an onion. Like I said before, like you
Yes,
peel many layers, and
yes.
every layer you peel is just like all sorts of emotions that rise.
More, yes.
Tears of joy, pain, everything.
I totally agree. I totally agree. And I think from then on, it just allowed me to see myself. It allowed me to see the pain that was in my heart, and it really liberated me. His love was such a powerful component for me because the experience of his love alone healed so many wounds inside of me, and it
Oh
allowed
yeah.
myself to just see myself and see how much I needed me in that moment. I needed my own love. I needed my own compassion, and I needed to hold myself for all the things that I had went through up until that point. So it was such a huge teacher to experience, especially a man's love, because I hadn't really experienced such great relationships up until that point. So
and
it was
and real love, right? When you experience real love,
mm,
it's wow, it's so liberating because real love doesn't want to control or you know I'm gonna
it
say
doesn't
this
judge. It doesn't.
exactly. It
It
doesn't
doesn't
judge, it
have
doesn't condemn, it doesn't.
expectations.
It's just a
Mhm.
light feeling,
Yes,
loving you as you
absolutely.
are, unconditional love, right?
Yes. So he absolutely gave me that experience, and through the unfolding of our friendship, of my relationship to myself too, it just continued to expand to the point that by the time I did leave my career and started to work for myself and pursue music, it's basically my spirituality became my guiding force from then on. And it was such a beautiful, it was interesting, like the moment I had left the whole 9 to 5 world and that lifestyle, it's like it blasted me open to this whole inner world in which provides so much guidance. And literally that has become my full-time everyday, like 24/7, I don't want to say job, but just passion.
Just beingness.
Yes.
Because your activity is kind of like an extension of who you are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And even though I'll introduce myself as a musical artist and all these things, the truth is those are all just expressions of myself. I don't just do music. There's a million other things that I love to do. But
and that's something I have a hard time too with labels, because I've always been passionate about many things, and then like I just didn't want to describe myself as like this one thing, because I love doing so many things. And if tomorrow I want to be a comedian, then that's what I'm going to be tomorrow, because I feel like it. And I feel like labels they limit us into our expansion, what we can be, because we can be whatever we want to be.
Definitely.
No limits.
I feel like I've made my peace with labels, just because I feel like it also, if you can carry the vibration in which you're wanting to express that label from, it can also have the potential to be received that way. And so,
right, very well said. Yeah.
And so if you're expressing it from an expansive way, even though I may say, it's just like you said, today I might see someone and be like, oh yeah, hey, I'm a musical artist. And maybe tomorrow I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a fashion stylist, or I also do interior design, or I actually do living magic and like run retreats and things like that. It just depends. But ultimately, I feel like when I express any of those labels, to me, they feel infinite. They're not closed. And so I've made my peace with them, because I've also struggled with the whole, like, but what do I say that I am? I'm so much more, like.
Yeah, no, definitely. No, but I like the way you explain it. It's all about how you let them define you, right? What's your definition behind those labels? Do you let those labels limit you, or do you just use them as a way to, I don't know, represent whatever you want
in that moment? Like, literally, like just like you said, if in that moment you want to be a comedian, it's like it's just an opportunity to express who you are in that moment, and the very next second it might be completely different, and that's the beauty of it.
So what are some new reflections, new realizations, or to put it in this way, expansions in consciousness that you've had recently?
Oh, such a good question.
About anything. Could be about events happening, or just anything. New realizations, new stuff.
I had a really powerful one. My sister was just asking me this yesterday, and man, so you know how like in like just spiritual concepts, there are things that we know and we like kind of understand, but you haven't fully felt it like totally completely. Like I'll just give the example, like, yes, I totally get that we are all one, but in this moment, do I feel like I am one with my laptop or this table in front of me? Like, I don't know if I totally feel that in my being. All right. So it's like,
I totally get
you know what I mean? Like, it's like, yes, I totally get it. And I know it. And have I fully felt, it in every cell of my body? Not particularly for that concept. Let's just put it that way. So that was kind of where I stood in terms of feeling myself as the big it, like the big it that we're looking for. It's like we're told, even through Living Magic, which is how we met at the retreat, that is the slogan of living magic. It's you are the magic that you seek. And even that, it's like, yeah, of course I'm the magic that I seek. But up until recently, that particular embodiment hadn't fully like crystallized inside of me. And it happened so beautifully, where one morning I was just kind of waking up and I was just observing, I guess, like how I move about my day. And in my observation, I noticed that I wander a lot. Like, and the wandering kind of feels like, that feeling feels like, oh yeah, like I could do yoga right now, or sure, I could work on this song right now, or maybe I could do this. Like all those things were like, yeah, cool, I could do any of those things. Those could like, and I was just like, why does this feel like I'm wandering? Like from any, like, it's like I'm not feeling any particular pull. And I was just kind of sitting with that, and I just let it be. I was just like letting it be an observation. And then within the next couple of days, I had these conversations in which I had gotten so alive and so lit, and I felt so much bliss and gratitude, and I was just in tears, and I felt myself so amazing. And it dawned on me that the very feeling that I was looking for through either, maybe choosing to do yoga or write a song or continue doing this, that feeling of excitement, of bliss, of just inspiration that I was seeking through the outside options that were presented to me, I could actually generate myself at a much grander scale. And so in that moment, I realized that the thing that was making me wander every day was the search of like what outside activity or project or person for that matter might offer me the feelings of inspiration, of love, of excitement. Right. And when I realized that that's actually why I was wandering, because I was seeking to find that source outside of myself, and then I had just experienced it for myself in like much more powerful ways, I was like, holy fuck, like this is that feeling. And it just like in that moment, it literally blew my mind, where I didn't care about any of those things anymore. It's like I didn't care about, the dream of being on stage with these artists that I love, or getting, the beautiful mansion house that I dream of, or none of those things mattered. Suddenly, my highest excitement was to be me, to just wake up and literally be like, holy shit, like I get to be me, and literally fuel that excitement, that inspiration, that love from within, and then use all of that to then go do the fun activities or whatever. Right. But to literally be the source of it. And it was the first time in my life where I can really say that I felt that, where it wasn't just like, oh yeah, I'm totally the magic like of my life, and so I did this session, like Lion helped me, he like guided me through this guided meditation, and
his meditations are so powerful. I was mind blown.
It was amazing. It was so powerful, and plus it was like specifically catered to like crystallizing that for me in my body at the moment. And when it did, I'm telling you, Renzo, it was just like I was just in tears of like, it was like the realization, not even the realization, it was feeling finally the embodiment of I am it. Like I am it. Like,
and it sounds easy, right? It sounds easy, like just be me.
It sounds super easy. And it's like,
but let me tell you, like it's a fucking challenge for most of us.
It is
embodying like everything, fully expressing, and to be in that full expansion.
Yes.
You have to peel a lot of layers of, fears, insecurities, limiting beliefs, and all you want. Like,
absolutely. They're like, it like basically what I realize is, in order to get to really feeling this from the core of who you are, you literally have to let go completely of your ego, of like what your ego wants, the being on stage, the mansion, the, traveling here or there, whatever it is. It's like that has to go in order for you to like literally want yourself more than you want your outside dreams. And the irony in all of that is that wanting yourself more than anything else literally fuels everything else, like in quantum speed, because now you're not doing it as a means to an end. You're literally just doing it because it's the inspiration that is present inside of you,
right.
to begin with.
And
So that has literally been my biggest shift yet, and that happened like not long ago. And it's
wow.
so true when you say like where it seems so like obvious, and it's like, well, of course, but to feel it though, to really feel it is a whole different thing. Completely.
No, it is. I 100% agree, and it's not that I've fully embodied. Like I know I can expand more, and I know I can. There's always work to do for me, and I try to put it in a more playful way. That's something I also learned from David, because I was very hard on myself, and I'm working on that, obviously. I'm trying to look at it as a more playful approach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And be like, okay, how am I gonna have fun today? How am I gonna play today? And try to embody more of that.
Yes, I love that. And I feel like part of like the whole realization process is that everyone really has their own time, and everything we're going in every moment is leading up to all these grand reveals, these grand new awakenings that we experience, or grand new shifts. And it's so beautiful because then we have the opportunity to literally sit in so much deep appreciation for ourselves and be like, damn, like, you know what, like all that time that I spent, wanting to be more playful, or just tuning into more fun, or asking myself, like doing all these little practices, it has served in such a grand way. Because like you're saying, it's like all those layers of that onion, and then like when you get to the core of it, you're like, oh my god, and then you're like, wait, there's more, like
yeah, wait, there's more. Yeah. And if you dig down deeper, in reality there's one truth, and this is the only truth that I'm really sure of, and that's love.
Yes.
Like everything else, I can doubt it. It's debatable, whatever. But if there's one thing that one source that we all feel in one way or another, that's love.
I totally agree. Yes. And it's such a powerful route to just come back to, no matter what we're going through. It's like to just come back to our own love, and our own like infinite compassion for ourselves is like the greatest gift we can do. And I totally agree. It's literally, you cannot go wrong if you just like go towards more love.
Exactly.
Like there's your expansion.
Yeah, and going back to the oneness that you were talking about, because fuck, I can so relate to that. Lately I've been feeling like I have two personas that I'm playing. One is like the one that's like, what the fuck is going on in the world? Where is there like justice? What, like lately with George Floyd, I was in rage. I'm not gonna lie to you, I was in rage when I saw that video, and like police brutality, and same for all the protesters setting small business on fire and all this stuff. It's like, damn it, that's also like, I condemn all these actions, right? And I was, the part of me is like, wants that needs for justice, like, come on people, like what the fuck, wake up. And another part of me is like, okay, it's important to go back to that oneness and to see myself in others. And like I said, it's hard to like look at someone who just murder an innocent person and say, yeah, I see myself in that person. But that's also, I think, a challenge for us right now as humans to be able to go back to that state of oneness.
I totally agree. And I feel like at the same time, when things like this happen, it's also really beautiful to see that we are, as a planet, we are moving towards more oneness, because look at everything that happened for this one man's life. Like, talk about purpose. Talk about like a grand purpose, like as you're leaving this earth, as you're leaving your vessel, like, so, I mean, we're talking about thousands, tens of thousands, who knows how many protests happened in so many cities all at the same time for this man's life, for what that represented. And so, like, that in and of itself, like, I feel like is the what we're looking for, is it's like these opportunities. I was having this conversation with Lion, I think it was yesterday, but it was like these opportunities to be able to see contrast in the world, so that we can choose more of what we want. And so
absolutely
it's like, yes, it's absolutely tragic, and those videos are horrifying, and look how much has like come from it, how much people are like, you know what, fuck quarantine, we're gonna gather thousands of people, and this is not okay. And that's amazing.
And something I like too that I've seen is also police officers, you know, unarming themselves and joining the people in. And I love that, and I really want to see more of that in the world, you know, because it's everyone's job. It's everyone's job. It's police, the people, soldiers, everyone's job to stand together in this. Because
absolutely
I also believe that, you know, staying in silence and neutral in situations of injustice is also like, you know, taking the side of the oppressors in a way.
I actually...
So not in all cases, because see, this is the way I see it. If you can do something about it, and when I mean do something, is not burning stuff and breaking shit up, because that to me, violence, like trying to extinguish fire with more fire, is never gonna, you know, it's never gonna extinguish a flame. But actually do something at your level that you can do to make this world a better place, whatever you're called to do. If you're like, say, if you're a person in power, if you're in a position of power as a police officer, and there's something you can do about the situation, then please, you know, go ahead and do it.
I totally agree, and I feel like the most powerful thing that we can do to protest something like this is literally to just shine our light brighter. And of course, if we feel called to, like, you know, join movements or protests, but even if that's not even there, literally just being deeper in the love that we are and shining that and letting that have its own ripple effect is taking a stance in the highest way. And so, yeah, I actually see a lot of beauty and a lot of oneness that has come through that. And just like you, I love seeing, you know, those pictures of like just the police force like hugging, like, you know, and I will also say that, like, it's like everything in life, there's a spectrum, you know, we can't just point the finger at all. It's not all cops. It's not, there's always a spectrum. There's always going to be like bad lawyers, bad cops, bad human beings, bad teachers. Like,
bad
there's
protesters as well. Yeah.
Like, it's just, that's the spectrum, and we still have to show love and compassion, because that's not,
because otherwise the other spectrum, we already know what the results are of fighting violence with violence. Like, we've seen it through history along, and that doesn't work. So it's time, I guess, we try something new.
Yeah, definitely.
So, Aveyah Nelson,
yes.
what does your ideal life look like? Your ideal self.
my ideal self is exactly who I am in every moment, in every passing moment. That is my ideal self, because it's the self that I am in that moment, which means that is already my ideal self because
Amazing.
that is who I am. So wanting anything more than that wouldn't make sense, because if I was to be anything more, then that's what I would be in that moment. But I can kind of feel what the grander scale of your question. Man, I don't know, and I think I kind of like not knowing. I like, I love just kind of following the threads of like inspiration that are present and seeing where that will lead me. Of course, I have, these grander dreams and aspirations, and I don't have any attachments to them. I'm totally fine if suddenly, I feel inspired in a different direction. So, yeah, that would be the best way I can answer that. Really, just simply being who I am is what really makes me so happy. To just continue, like, just spending so much time with myself is so nice. Like, I feel like there's never enough more time. Like, yes, like I live and breathe my spirituality, my spiritual practice 24/7, and that's what truly makes me happy, and whatever expressions come out of it is beautiful. But ultimately, this is the driving force of my life. My own inner guidance, inner inspiration, inner excitement, and whatever expression that takes in that moment.
Beautiful. I also think not knowing, it's kind of like the point of the human experience as well. Like try to kind of like forgetting who we are to come back to like remembering.
Totally. I totally remind myself of that when I'm having like a challenging moment, and I'm just like, it's okay, babe. Like, we signed up for this. Like, we wanted to experience these things. Like, it's okay. Like,
it's so liberating, when you go back to the, I don't know, it's like I see my life before I was aware of like spirituality and all the stuff, and after, it's like it's changed so much. And it's like when you're being guided, when there's something so much bigger than ourselves, just who's got it, who's got our back, then it's just so liberating. And you're like, just like, whatever comes at me, then I'll just go with that flow. And
yes, it's so, there's like this inherent peace that just comes when wow, I can just relax. Like, I'm taken care of. It's so beautiful. I totally agree.
100%. 100%. My next question. If you could go back in time and talk to 18-year-old Aveyah, what would you tell her?
Oh, I love questions like this. Man. What would I tell her? Oh, well, the first thing I would do is I would hug her. I would hold her. Before I say anything, I would hold her and hug her with all the light and the love that I am, that we are. I would do that first. And I would just tell her, that you are love, you are enough, and you are it. That's what I would tell her.
Amazing.
Yeah. Just let her feel it through my vibration, through the love that my future self is. And let that just sink in. Because I definitely feel, as a young woman, I like a lot of young women and men, we struggle with that sense of being enough, or that sense of just
tell me about it. I would have probably if I could talk to my 18-year-old self, I would have probably smacked him in the back of the head. Be like, hey,
I-
that's how hard on myself.
Oh my God.
Yeah. With love, of course, but still.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yes. So good. And the beautiful part is we actually have the power to do that, to go back and have those conversations with our past younger selves, with our future selves, and just experience just how healing that can be. So, yeah.
Aveyah, so going to our last question here.
Yes.
What is your best piece of advice to make this world a better place?
My best piece of advice, or what I would share, is to just be who you are. That's all. In all its simplicity, in all its complexity, to just know that who you are is more than enough to be the change, to shine brighter. It's not about what we're doing, or, we're not human doings, we're human beings. And so just simply being exactly who you are, because there has never been another DNA configuration that is you. There isn't any there, and there never will be, and there never has been. So the fact that your unique being has come together at this specific time and place, it's because you are already a gift. There is nothing outside of you that you need to do or be or try to attain or impress. You are inherently the most beautiful gift that you already are. There isn't anything more that needs to be done. And so simply being who you are in whatever expression that takes form, then let it be that. But yeah.
Love it. Love it. So true. So where can we find you, Aveyah? Where can we find more of your love, of your shine, of your magic?
Thank you so much, Renzo. So my website is aveyah.love. Aveyah is AVEYAH.love. You can find me there. Yes, on all streaming platforms if you want to listen to some of my music. I'm actually going to be releasing a new album this year, which I'm
what?
Not sure when. Depends on quarantine when I can start going in the studio again.
Oh yeah.
And so you can find me again, Aveyah, AVEYAH, on all streaming platforms, and Instagram, Facebook, it's aveyah.love, YouTube as well, just Aveyah. There's not too many Aveyahs out there, so I'm pretty lucky.
Perfect.
Like,
yeah, yeah, I love that name. That's so
name.
unique, Aveyah. Never heard it before.
Well, it's my soul name. In all honesty.
What's that?
It's my soul's name. So
it's your soul's name?
Yes, it's not my birth name.
Oh, okay.
It's the name that was
cool. I still love it, nonetheless.
Yes, thank you. Well, it is my name in a sense. It's
yeah.
Like, yeah. But yeah, that's where you can find me, and you can also find me on the Living Magic platform, and that's livingmagic.life. And so David Lyon and we run some pretty phenomenal, life-changing
I
workshops.
Second that. I absolutely agree. Guys, you should check that out.
Yes. So
definitely, I'm gonna put the links down there in the descriptions for you guys to go check it out. All her social media, all her platforms.
Thank you, and thank you so much, Renzo.
Thank you so much.
Like such a pleasure to have met you in the container that we did in the retreat together, and it feels like such a deep honor to be able to experience your shine and your presence in this moment, and just how you're showing up like so beautifully and just in all your glow, just to hold this space for me, for yourself, for us, for everyone else who's watching. I totally appreciate you, and I really look forward to more of this expansion and connection.
For sure. We'd love to have you again. And thank you so much for your love, your joy, your presence. Really grateful to have known amazing people like you in my life.
Absolutely. And if you're in Montreal, then we should all just get
together. For sure. Montreal is home, so I always go back there. Either way, like for sure, meet up there.
Thank you so much, Renzo. This was
much love.
Thank you so much for listening. And if you haven't done this yet, go get yourself a copy of my free ebook, The Thrive Method, a 6-step guide to naturally align yourself with your life mission, regain your power, and fully thrive, on my website, renzoruizhaas.com. I'll put the link in the description below for you to check it out. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Spiritual Warrior TV, and to follow me on Facebook and Instagram as Renzo Ruiz Haas. I want to express once again my biggest gratitude for your support, and see you on the next episode. Much love.